actually love facing fears. I feel like when you face a fear, that means you're at the edge of something big. And every time you're at the edge of something big, you're breaking through to the next level and you're growing and you're building courage.
Hola, I'm Claudia Romo Edelman.
And I'm Cynthia Kleinbaum-Milner.
And this is a podcast, A La Latina.
The playbook to succeed being your authentic self.
Today, Glory Alcantara, incredible guest, Director of Multicultural Marketing at General Mills. And here are the 3 key takeaways.
The first one is how she has used her dad's advice of giving others what you have an abundance of as a foundation for how she approaches her personal and professional lives.
Number 2, how to change from self-preservation into self-confidence.
And number 3, how she has developed her superpower of remaining calm under stressful circumstances, and she gives us the playbook on how to get there ourselves.
All of that and more here, A La Latina.
Stick around.
Today, incredible guest, Glory Alcantara.
Glory is the Director of Multicultural Marketing at General Mills. She's a former board member of a food co-op, and she has over 15 years of experience doing marketing for some of the largest consumer goods companies in America.
Welcome, Glory.
Thank you, gracias.
We're so excited to have you.
I'm very blessed to be here and excited to be here as well and share my story.
We want to know everything about you, starting with your background. What was your experience to have you be who you are and what you're doing today?
All right, so let's start with where I'm coming from, because I think it sets the foundation for who I am. I was born and raised in the Dominican Republic to an amazing family. I have 3 brothers, my mom and dad, who just celebrated their 51 years of marriage. Amazing. That was the foundation of who I am. You know, I was grounded on the values of hard work, loyalty, honesty, courage. And that really has shaped who I am today. And every decision that I have made has been based on those values. And obviously, as you continue to grow, you evolve and you get, you achieve more. But that I always remember, like, that's my foundation. And it was done at home. So I, thank my parents for that. And, we have a very tight, close-knit family. So I started there. I came to the US at 17. Did not know more than maybe 3 words of English, if you can believe that. So it was a hard adjustment. I went from Santiago to Neenah, Wisconsin.
Why did you move? Your entire family moved here?
Just me. I did the solo trek in search of a challenge and in search of a better education in life. I always had really, really high goals for myself. Uh-huh. And I, talked to my parents, and after high school, we decided that was probably worth doing.
So that was college at 17?
Yes.
So you were early to college?
I was,
huh? Okay.
Yes. I was valedictorian of my high school and came here early. I finished early and started. And it was a very tough journey because not only did I not know English, mm-hmm. I'm a Latina in a city where there's no other Latinos. Mm-hmm. And then I started working at Kimberly-Clark at the time, an amazing company with great culture. And I had no idea how to even navigate anything. Now, I've been really thankful and blessed that I've been, exposed to amazing mentors, coaches, and managers that have helped a lot. But a lot of it I had to do on my own. So, a lot of the bruises, that have happened because of me trying to do it alone. And at the end of the day, you can't do it alone. You have to lean in on the other people that are there around you that are really willing to help you and support you.
So your family stayed in the Dominican Republic?
Everyone is back home.
They're still there. So you're still the only person from your family here?
Yes.
Who did you ask advice from as you were in college? How did you even decide to go to Kimberly-Clark?
And how did you get to college with 3 words of English?
Yeah. I had to do an intensive ESL program first for 6 months, and that got me enough to get started and just going. So for the first 6 months, I couldn't go because I had to study English first.
Like many Latinos.
Yeah. And I think, as Latinas, we're so resourceful, right? And that's something that I've always had within me. It's like, what do I have at my disposal and how do I make the best of that? So I knew I had great people around me that knew the way. So I had a host mom. I lived with a host family for a few months, 3 months. She had connections. So I was like, hey, she knew somebody at Kimberly-Clark. And I'm like, can I talk to your sister who knows somebody at Kimberly-Clark? She connected me with somebody there. I interviewed, I got the job. It's just, you have to figure out, where am I sitting or planted, as I say? Mm-hmm. And then how do I make the best of what I have? And how do I leverage my network? You'd be surprised how many people want to help if you only ask. And sometimes we don't ask enough.
We don't ask enough, and we don't have the networks that are strong enough for us to be able to do it. We're going to talk about networks. I would love to talk to you about networks and how is necessary. What have you encountered throughout your life? But I want to go back to something you shared before about your dad, telling you a little bit about your philosophy in life.
Yes.
Comes from.
Yeah, my dad always said to me, you give to others what you have an abundance of. And I love that so much because it really starts to, you start to pay attention to like, what am I giving myself? How am I filling my internal cup? Because that's what's gonna be coming out of you. So if you have joy to give inside of you, you're gonna give joy. If you have trust and loyalty, you're gonna give that. So I am so careful about not only the stuff I consume, like the food, the people that are around me, the energy of the people around me.
I can totally see that. Yeah.
But I also am very careful about how do I spend my time? How do I talk to myself? What are the messages that are going through my mind that are going to influence how I feel about myself and then are going to influence how I treat others and how I show up for others?
What are specific things that you do for self-care and that our audience
So
can
I meditate every morning. I work out every day right after meditation. I eat very healthy, balanced meals that are mostly just
General
Mills
foods. Exactly.
A lot of avocados, a lot of eggs, and a lot of other stuff. But I take care of my body. I take care of my mind. I do a lot of podcast listening. This is one of them that I'm religiously listening to. And I do a lot of self-growth and personal growth consumption. So I listen to podcasts about that. And I'm constantly curious and learning about myself. Because I feel like earlier in my career, for example, I was too focused on what was expected of me. And I tried to do that. And it's like, oh, that's what they're doing here. This is how I need to show up. And it wasn't until I discovered how do I want to show up? Because what is authentic to me? That's when I started to step into my power.
I want to make sure that all our audiences understand this learning from your dad, which is you give what you have in abundance. And because we need to move from the scarcity mentality to the abundance mentality, it's so important for Latinas to fill your cup, to make sure that you're well with yourself, because that's the way in which we're all going to be okay.
Yeah.
I agree. And I think one more thing, because you asked me, what else do I do specifically? I have started to say no a lot more.
I was actually going to go there because I hear a lot from more junior Latinas that they don't know what to say no to. They're overwhelmed. And if you don't learn when you're young that you will never be able to do everything that's asked from you and that you have to learn how to spot these are the things that I must do and these are the things that I can deprioritize, it's only going to get worse because your list is going to get longer. It's something to learn early on, and then the time that is for you has to be sacred.
Yes. I have rituals that are mine. Like my gym is my ritual. I protect that. My morning meditation is my ritual. Protect that. I have a bedtime that is 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I go to bed unless something's happening, an event or dinner, that's fine. I'm flexible. I protect my routine because that's what sets me up for success the next day.
I do the exact same thing, wake up early. My kids, I don't see my kids until 7 a.m. The only one that gets me to stay out late is my co-host.
We are like we're even dressing the same. I don't know, like
becoming one.
Like exactly, big earrings, doing the same, just different colors. Like we're mimetizing here. Yeah,
I love it, and I'm mixing the colors of both of you in the middle. We didn't even plan this.
No, exactly.
Okay, so besides your dad, who were the people that inspired you, that you learned from them and you try to follow there?
So my family has always been a very strong force for me to ground myself on. So my dad and my mom, amazing human beings. My dad is very spiritual. He's very much of a caring person. My mom is very driven. Mm-hmm. My brothers are all entrepreneurs back in the DR. So I learned a lot from them about taking risk. Mm-hmm. They're all taking risks every day in a different way. They're building businesses. They're doing a lot of things that none of our family members have ever done. I'm doing the same thing here. So we're all pioneers in a way, and I'm very proud of that.
So are you an entrepreneur? Do you take risk within your company?
Yes.
Are you allowed to?
Yes.
Do they give you space?
Yes. And that's one of the things I respect so much about General Mills. It's a company whose values are really aligned with mine. And for me, it was really important. Whenever I work for a company, if the values don't align, I just don't even go there. Because I know I'm not going to thrive and succeed. Because if I'm not able to match my values to them, then I don't think it's just like a relationship. It's the same. When you're finding a partner to be with, you can't do that on a foundation that is not aligned on the values. Same thing with a job, right? Or a career. So I'm very blessed that the company that I've worked for the last 15 plus years has built a very solid foundation based on really strong value systems that align with mine. And that has allowed me to grow professionally and personally in ways that I never imagined.
And you mentioned that you have like an approach that you go to
Yes.
career-wise and also personal-wise.
Yeah, so the way I approach life and my career, everything I do in life, I have developed this little model that I like things in threes because they're easy to remember.
Like 1, 2, 3?
Yes, yes.
Or 1, 2, 3?
Exactly.
Exactly.
1, 2, 3.
Perfect.
It's called the 3G approach. So it's grounded, grow, and glow. So grounded, it's like, what are the fundamentals? Am I taking care of the fundamentals? And that's what I talked about self-care. Am I taking care of me? It all starts here. Because if I'm not well, guess what? No one else around me is going to be well, or at least it's not going to be taken care of the way I want to take care of them.
And if you want to be a leader, there's a bigger footprint that you have to make sure that you're responsible for.
Absolutely. So like me, the way I show up to my team, the way I show up to my company, to meetings, the way I show up at work has a lot to do with, am I taking care of the grounds? Am I taking care of this, the temple, right? So like grounded, and it's like taking care of the soil, like in order to grow a healthy fruit. So that's how I think about it. The other G is grow. So am I doing the right things in order to allow myself to grow? Am I learning? Am I remaining curious? Am I asking questions? Am I asking for help? That's something that I had to learn the hard way after getting burnt out in past roles where I thought I had to do it all alone. And it's like, I don't. People are waiting, just ask. So that's the second G. And the third G is glow, which is, to me, it's the most beautiful explanation of like when your cup is filled, you glow from the inside out. And it also allows you to just show up authentically and be more powerful and also motivate others and help those that are around you that are watching. Because you'll be surprised how many people are paying attention and you just don't know who you're impacting. So that glow that I talked about is like bringing that light to others and being a support system for people that are looking for it.
I love this.
I want to take your opinion about something that we experienced. We launched A La Latina network, and we had our first A La Latina dinner where you were part of.
Yes.
And I would love to hear, based on these 3Gs, how do you feel that what you experienced with us and the way in which other trailblazers glow can have an impact on others? And for our audience, yes, we launched A La Latina network, and we had our first ever A La Latina dinner in New York, where we had the incredible trailblazers that we have had as guests of the podcast, sharing their stories with Hispanic Star Rising that want to network, learn, and with the trailblazers that want to network and give back.
And first of all, that was amazing. My cup was filled last night. When I got back to my hotel, I was like, how do we do this again soon? I think that the level of connection that was built there is amazing. And we all need that, especially Latinas, because we're highly connected individuals. But I feel like as we grow in our careers or even in our own families, we tend to, disconnect because it's just you get busier, you have more responsibilities. There's not as many people in the same situation as you to connect with. So I love that you're facilitating that for us. So I appreciate that so much for both of you. What I love about that too, to me, is pipeline development. I feel like one of the main things I'm personally passionate about, and it's one of the reasons why I started to do coaching some of the younger generation of marketers, in my case, because that's what I'm really, my strength is in marketing, but also as a leader, I have a lot of passion about coaching the younger generation of future leaders, especially Latina leaders, because I feel like making the pipeline strong is only going to help us accelerate the rate at which we get promoted and start leading, because all these companies are hungry for our leadership. They want the leadership. They want us to show up. They want us to be elevating ourselves. But we have to also do our part in that. And then I feel like when we help each other, and I love your idea of the playbook, having the playbook where we can, share that with the generations or the groups that are behind us, is how we're gonna fill the pipeline with healthy, strong, confident, driven Latinas that are going to be the future leaders. I love that.
And I think it goes back to my feeling and the difference of where we are and where we were, and to celebrate that we're glowing and we're getting more into the abundance, so that people like you are not only willing to, continue growing, but also give back. and have that connection so that our pipeline really can have, like a strong track, and that you can be a better leader.
Exactly. And not only do we want that for our own Latinas, but the companies want that. They have seen the value of celebrating and elevating. I see it at my company all the time. Like I have so much influence and power, and I've been given so much freedom to do what needs to be done. Just you tell us what we need to do and we'll be there for you. Like that level of support, I feel and I think you said it this morning on a video you uploaded, by the way. Happy International Women's Day.
Exactly.
I love that we're doing this today. What a great day. And I love what you said. Like, we're living in the best time to be a woman. So let's take that, and like empower ourselves, believe in ourselves, and have the courage to walk through those doors that are being opened for us.
When I looked at your resume and your career, even though you have 15 years in the same company, you've had almost like many careers within the same company.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why Claudia and I wanted to start the podcast with corporate America was because we know how good a career can be if you started in corporate America. You can just like have many careers within a company and benefit from all the goodness that come from being part of a big company that's established and that can promote you and enable you. So can you walk us through your career? You started in product development, then you went to marketing, then back to innovation. How did you make those decisions? And what advice would you give somebody in corporate America making decisions on roles?
Such a good question, and one that I talk a lot about when I'm asked questions like these. For me, the first thing is know that you can do it. First of all, believe in yourself. I have taken risks that, like for my very first job in the US, I have to say, it was in R&D, research and development for Kimberly-Clark. I was a business major. Most of my peers were all engineers, biochemical, all these things, right? I had no idea what I was walking myself into, but I knew inside of me that I could figure it out because I'm smart. I can do this, right? And I did it. I did amazing. But I realized this is not for me. And this is where knowing yourself comes into place. Like you could get offered an opportunity and you could take it because it's going to teach you skills that you need, for your toolbox. But if it's not what you really want to do, it's like as long as you know where you're going, use this particular experience, learn from it the most you can, do the best job you can, and then go towards the next step that you need to do in order to get where you want to go. So I have said yes to many things that in the moment felt scary. It's like, holy cow, like, am I going to be able to do this? And it's like, yep, I think I can try it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? That I don't like the job or that it's not a fit. And then, then I move on to something else that is. At least I learned that this is not for me. To me, learning, like everything you do is done for you, not to you, is done for your growth. Everything you do, every action you take is for your development and for your growth, good or bad.
I want to pause there. Who taught you or who gave it to you that you were like, I'm smart.
Yeah.
I can figure it out? Because it's counterintuitive. This is what we want. This is what we dream. This is what we should aim for every Latina to know it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
You're smart enough. You will figure it out. But because the media narrative is so against it, because we're told and not being represented, we don't think that we're smart. How did you get that confidence? And how do we pass it on so that all Latinas know we can do it? We're enough. We're smart.
Yeah, I think the first, and this I didn't even know it at the time, but my parents allowed me to come here at 17, not knowing English, to a country that they didn't even know about because they didn't bring me and be like, here you are. Like they just let me go. That was the first indication for me that I'm gonna do something big, and they trust me. If they trust me, they know me better than I even know myself. So to me, that was the first indication that you can do hard things. And I know this is a phrase that's been very popular.
We can do hard things.
Yes.
Love it.
And it's like, so that was the first one. But the other one I would say is every time I have said yes to something scary, I always, like, it's fine. I don't break in the process. I don't burn. I don't die. Like, I make it. Even if I'm crawling, I make it. So that has given me the confidence that no matter what is thrown my way, I know I'm going to be okay because I have done it multiple times. So it's everything that happens, saying yes to those hard things. I actually also love facing fears. I feel like when you face a fear, that means you're at the edge of something big. And every time you're at the edge of something big, you're breaking through to the next level and you're growing and you're building courage. So to me, fear and courage are like this. So that's how I've developed my ability to say I can do anything, because I know I can, because I've done it in many little ways. And in big ways too. I've taken risks that are big that I have been able to do it. Moving here was the biggest risk I took, and I succeeded. So now I know I'm good. I'm smart.
We have 3 marketers here, and I want to make sure that all our audience understands that we can do it, that we're smart, that because we've been so resilient, so resourceful, because we've been facing more challenges than anyone else, that should be the translation, the flipping the script is from I survived to I can do hard things.
Yes.
I am smart, so that we can change that around. If we manage in our generation to have the next generation turn that piece into I'm
Yes.
smart as opposed to I survived, I think that we made it.
But I feel like sometimes when we see people like you and you speak with so much poise and with so much confidence, we wonder, if I was listening to this and I was 25, I'd be like, I actually don't feel that way all the time. And I imagine you didn't feel that way all the
No,
time.
most of the times I didn't.
Exactly. So how did you handle the moments in which you felt like, I'm not that smart, I'm not that powerful, like the moments of doubt?
That is such a good question. So first of all, there was many days or moments where I was like, I don't know that I can do this. I doubted myself a lot.
Because there's so much reinforcement of that.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Like
exactly.
the stereotypes of Latinas are guiding you towards that.
Yes. But one thing I have done differentially has been asking questions. So if I am given something that I'm scared or doubting myself, it's because I probably don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
But somebody else probably knows, right? So it's like, why do I have to create something when other people have done it? So I've always been really good at one of my superpowers is remaining calm under stress, or remaining calm in the storm, as I call it. So when I get a storm, which is like something hard that I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do, and doubting myself, I don't know if I can do this, I remain calm and I say, what do I have at my disposal right now? Or what is the next best step I can take? And I take that one little tiny step. Maybe that step is calling somebody that I used to report to in a prior company that may know somebody who has done this, or maybe he himself or she himself has done it. It's like, hey, can you give me 10 minutes of your time? I was given this assignment and I really don't know where to start, right? And it's like leaning on others and asking questions. We also have the power of information now. Information is out there. Googling stuff, now AI is very powerful. So like finding information to feed that, but just know inside that, like I always tell myself, what is the worst that can happen? Like the absolute worst. And then you realize like, oh, it's not like, I'm not gonna go to jail for this. I'm not gonna die. Like the worst that can happen is that I trip and fall. And then what happens? I get up again. Like nothing happens. You get up again.
So on that, why don't you, given your clarity about pipeline and how much we need Latinas to feel strong, given that you had that flip the script and that you have clarity of your superpower, being calm, mostly because I think that Latinas remain calm because we've gone through so much. So it's a superpower that most Latinas have. Like
Right.
we don't get shaken by anything. Like we're like, this is nothing, amigo. So why don't you start talking to companies and being a speaker, particularly in consumer goods and so on? Have you thought about like doing,
Yes.
being invited to companies to, like talk?
Yeah, I would love that. That is such a great idea, and one that I've been thinking about as I think about leaving my legacy, because the work I do is very fulfilling, and I love what I do. I really do. And I love that I'm building a career in a company that I really appreciate and value. But I also think about what is my legacy. And I see the pipeline, and I talk to a lot of young marketers in other CPG companies who seek me out for advice. And one of the things I've been thinking about is like, how do I take these learnings, this package of things that I have accomplished, but also the learnings that I have got me there, and how do I provide, a message to others that can help develop and help break down barriers for others? So I would love that if companies would be interested in bringing me in, talk to their Latina groups about this. That's something that I'm actually very passionate about trying.
Maybe we could think of having a La Latina speaker bureau.
Yes.
And have you being the first one where
Love
we can try
that.
to, like I think that
Yeah.
this is
I
this
love
is a
that.
way to speak up. Right.
Yes.
Love that.
Okay, so now Since we have you, and one of your superpowers is also knowing how to market to Latinos, and any company now not marketing to Latinos is just like missing
Oh, yeah.
a big chunk of the market, we would like to get the PhD version of how to market to Latinos in 5 minutes. What are musts? And also, what are most not? Like things that you've seen companies doing that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they thought this was multicultural marketing.
Yeah. So I feel, and this is something we talk a lot about at General Mills, the foundation of everything is knowing your consumer. So grounding your strategy on consumer insights and really understanding this Hispanic consumer for us has been critical. Even the Hispanic culture itself is very nuanced.
Yeah.
So even language nuances that are, part of our culture and the value that food has in our culture and how food is seen, but also how it's eaten. Like different parts of, Latin America eat different things. So like, how do you show up authentically, respectfully, in a way that builds connections? So to me, it all starts with the grounding it on a strong consumer insight. After that, one of the things that we do a lot at General Mills too is data is important. You have to know if you're doing is moving the needle, if it's actually achieving the KPIs, the key performance indicators that you want. So data and analytics is very key. And I think education is the other one. It's like, how do we now bring the outside in too? Because you also want to make sure that those that are inside the company that are building these brands are empowered and have the empathy in order to really connect with the consumers that are out there that may not be who they are, right, personally, but they should be able to connect with them. So that's like a framework that we have. And then that enables you to have strategies, messages, executions that are really connected to the consumer in a way that's meaningful.
How does the work happen at General Mills? Like you have a brand manager for a product, and then multicultural marketing is like gets brought in to chime in, or you have your own campaigns? Like how do you work?
No, we work directly with the brands. So we support the brands in ensuring that we are collaborating with them, and I call them we're growth partners. So like we're hand in hand with them, developing the plans together. They own the brands, they own the business, they own the strategies, but we are a partner in that process with them to ensure that we're bringing those rich insights, we're collaborating with them on those things, and enabling those campaigns to be elevated and to be more meaningful.
If it's not confidential, can you share some of the interesting insights about Latinas?
Sure. I'll tell you about an execution that we did on one of our products, and then the insight that drove that. So Mott's, for example, just launched recently with Eva Longoria a beautiful program called, it's like a book program. So you buy a box of Mott's and you get a free book inside, and it's a Spanish or English or bilingual book, and beautiful stories illustrated and written by Hispanic authors and illustrators. That was done because we knew that there was an insight that was Latina moms are so pressed for time, right? There's so much happening in their lives. You just talked about earlier about all the things you have to do today, taking your daughter to swimming lessons and doing all these things. We are pressed for time. We have pressures at work, at home, in society, with our families, everywhere. So we knew that having a moment to read to your child is a precious moment that mom or dad wanted to preserve and have. So we're facilitating that by having this execution, this book that we're giving to them, and it's also allowing them to educate their kids on topics. We hear a lot about parents who may not be speaking enough Spanish to their kids at home. So they're finding ways to incorporate more of that language. Even non-Hispanic parents are loving this idea. So this is when you have an insight that is driven by a Hispanic consumer, actually connects with the broader audience. And we think by focusing on a Hispanic insight, we're gonna exclude others, and it's all the opposite.
Claro.
We all want the best for our kids. We all want more time. We all want more education. We all want our kids to learn other languages and other cultures.
Yeah.
So why do we have to limit it to one group? Like, we all want that. So then what we do is we use an insight that is meaningful for one audience, that is our core, and then that insight translates into more audiences.
I love that. And I hope that we can do a Hispanic Star children's series together with, because I think that the heroes that we have, Latinos, are heroes of the entire country. Roberto Clemente is not a Latino baseball player. Roberto Clemente is a baseball champion of America.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to share with you both something that I did a couple of days ago, which is go to the streets with a microphone and ask people what are the attributes that they associate more with Latinas. And I put a number of them, some of them the physical attributes that were like beautiful, sexy, loud, beautiful, sexy, but also some other attributes that are stereotypes like fire, loud, scary, and then the competence attributes like hard workers or job creators or entrepreneurs, small businesses. So we went to the streets. I interviewed 20 people on the street, and they, to my face, told me 99% of them, they said Latinas, I associate them with number one, beautiful, number two, sexy, and number three, either scary or loud. And they was to my face. So I thought,
Wow.
those were understood as positive attributes. People were saying, wow, you are beautiful, without knowing that that caught us dramatically in our professional career development, without knowing that because we are associated with beautiful or sexy, then probably the stereotype is, well, be the receptionist, right? Like, so everybody can see you and that's what you're good for. So what do you make of this? And how do we turn it around? Because people need to understand that while that is not negative, it's also not positive to our careers. And how do you turn it around?
Oh, I mean, first of all, it's sad that we're still, I mean, people, when they tell you that to your face, it's like they think it's a good thing. It's like,
Exactly.
it's not.
Yeah.
And we show up beautiful. We're beautiful, right?
Yes,
like nothing
I mean,
wrong.
yes,
Right?
nothing
Yeah.
wrong
It
with
shouldn't
that,
be at
but
the
that-
top, not the first thing that people say about us.
Or
Yeah.
beautiful and competent. And then I asked them, so what about if I tell you that we create jobs number one in the country, that Latinas generate 6 times faster than any other group in America, small businesses? And they were like, oh, okay, so I will say beautiful and job creators.
Okay.
But so what do you make of these marketers?
I love your perspective on that, actually.
I mean, I think that any brand has many attributes, and one or two of them are the ones that people know them for. And it's very hard to change the perception. Like, I don't actually think that even the brand manager can change the perception. I think the perception comes from how others perceive you, and it's slow. And I think we're against a difficult thing to change that if we don't all are trying to do it. If we Latinas are okay with being just considered pretty and don't prioritize being considered smart, being considered resilient, being considered job creators, then that's going to always be the secondary attribute. And as marketers, you can pick one to be the top and many secondary. So we have to decide which one do we want to be the top. And I think we have to all say, let's just talk about more than just being pretty.
Yeah, I think 2 things come to mind, and I love that perspective. One is I think Hollywood has made that even more common and more present, right? So like how we portray Latina women in big screen is driving some of those stereotypes. And I think what you said is right. It's up to us to decide, how do I want to show up? And I think that's where intentionality and knowing yourself comes in. If you know your superpower, because you could be beautiful, but also like, that is not what you want to be known for. Like, what is it that I want to be known for? What is the legacy I want to leave when I leave this planet? So for me, it's intentionality and how you want to be perceived, and like really create that personal brand intentionally. So if you know that you want to be perceived as somebody strategic, what are the things that you're going to do in order to show strategically? First of all, ask your organization, what does a strategic leader look like or sound like or, talk like? Then, or watch others that you believe are highly strategic and model some of those behaviors. Because I think, we're surrounded by amazing people everywhere, not just Latinas, but everyone around us. I mean, we are surrounded by amazing humans, talented people. So observe also and try to influence yourself on those things that you're trying to build on your personal brand. So I would say the first question I would ask myself would be, how do I want to show up as a brand?
Yeah.
And that's a foundation of marketing, right? Like, what are the values? But like, what is the key message I'm putting out there? If the key message is beauty, like, okay, but like, is that it? Like, that's not going to take you far. But if it's about strategic or leading a great team, like, how do you show up as a great leader? What are the things that you're doing that make you a good leader? So to me,
What's yours? What's your brand?
My brand, well, I said already, my superpower is remaining calm. For me, it's really about providing a foundation and a space for my team to really thrive. I love letting people be who they are and empowering
team leader.
them. Yeah.
And you said Salma Hayek said something that struck. Yeah.
Yes, I love. The other day I saw a video somebody posted where she was going into some show or award show or something. She was wearing obviously a beautiful dress, probably really expensive, right? So they asked her, what is the most expensive thing you're wearing tonight? And she pointed to her brains. And I was like, I love that. Because she is doing what we just said. She's flipping that. She's saying, it's not anything that I'm wearing. It's what's inside here. It's the beauty of my brains that is the most expensive and the most valuable thing that I have.
What I would say is that let's show up beautiful and let's talk smart.
Yes.
All right. So we want to talk about identity.
About being Latina. We always ask these questions to our guests, and the answers are very inspiring for our audience. And they really shine that your company, how much your company accepts you and how much you have grown. So tell us, in your entire career, have you ever had to dial down your Latinidad?
I have done it earlier, not because I was asked. I was never, thankfully, have never been coached on like, you're too loud, you move too much, your hands, or you talk too fast. Never. We try to not coach people on style because that's what you are about, right? It's your personal thing. But I did remember when I first started in my career, I was trying to be like the white marketers that I saw were like the stereotype, like the model of like what I needed to look like. So instead of being myself, I would be like them more, like even try to dress like them and like, where are they buying? Oh, they're buying at J. Crew. I gotta buy my clothes at J. Crew too. Like that kind of stuff. So that's how I thought I was toning down my Latinidad by trying to be more like somebody that I wasn't. And it wasn't until I started working more on connecting to myself and like realizing what my style is that I started saying, no, but that's not me. Like, this is me.
This is me.
I love color. I'm passionate, but I'm also driven. And passionate for me is like, people think, oh, you're too passionate, right? As Latinas, they tell us that. But have you noticed that passionate people also can get anything done because they set their minds to something and they figure it out?
Commitment.
Yes.
Passion is commitment.
Yes. But so I have had those moments, and I will say that you just have to figure out like what is it that's true to you and do that. I also have been very intentional of how I'm showing up too, because there are times where I might want to say something that is not the right audience. So like you also have to be aware of that. Sometimes we want to be ourselves and that's okay. But there are moments where you have to also watch, like, is be myself, is it what I want to show up right now helping me and my brand and what I want to do? So like you also have to be very aware of your surroundings, your audience, adjust a little bit to that, because that's part of also
being a businesswoman. If you were a white woman, you would still be making the same comment.
Yes, exactly.
And what about leaning in your Latinidad? Are there any characteristics that you can say, this I do this or I am like this because I am Latina and it has enabled me to succeed?
Yes, I think that the courage that I have, as like Latina women, we're very courageous. Like we go for it, right? We know we can do things. We can do hard things. I think for me, the ability to ask for things and ask for permission, and that, because we're very community focused and very personable. We develop relationships easily, right? People trust us because we create those environments where we show up that way. So for me, the way I use my Latinidad there is from that community building, that trust building and foundation, is bring people along the way that are gonna be my network to help me succeed, but also in the same vein, how do I create a community that is safe for those that are behind me that I want to help succeed too? So it's kind of that container of community building and trust building that is not only helping me, but it's also helping those that are behind.
And what about, we've talked through the podcast about this technique of flipping the script, of those values that are associated with negative, and they could flip the script and put them in a positive corporate life. What are those that you think that you would like to flip?
Yeah, so for me, it's about passionate. So I consider myself a very passionate person. And I think as Latinas, we are known for that. But sometimes people can see it as a negative. It's like, oh, too passionate. It's like too energetic, or she talks too into it, or maybe emotional even to a point. And the flip of that, in the way I think that has helped my career accelerate too, is that I turned that passion into decisiveness and driven, right? And being driven. So if I'm given a task or a job or a role or a project, that passion, and I don't know how to do it, let's say, that passion that I have turns into, I am going to figure this out. I'm gonna find out who I can call that can help. I'm gonna go, read a book on this. I'm gonna go listen to a podcast on this. I will figure it out. And then that grit and that like curiosity and that energy to make something happen, that creates trust in the organization to know she can figure this out. We don't have to hold her hand every step. She will find and pave the way. So that passion turns into getting stuff done.
From passion to doer.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask maybe, what is your playbook? If you would share the Glory playbook on how to climb the ladder and succeed being your authentic self.
So I'd say, and it's almost a recap of a little bit of what we talked about. The first thing is spend time with yourself. Go inside. Get to know who you are, what motivates you and why, where you want to go. Then second is find out and surround yourself with people that are going to help you get there. Find mentors. Ask, other people that you know, if they know somebody in the industry that can help you. Find ways to really get out of your own little shell. Because sometimes we get so enamored with our little bubble but we're not. We're part of a big bubble. And there's so many people who are willing and wanting to help, but they don't know that you're wanting the help, so they don't offer it. So you have to take the steps to do that. So create a network, a support network that is going to allow you to then start making those steps that you need to make. I'd say the third thing is work on your courage and say yes to things that are scary. So for me, that has been the story of my life. I've said yes to things that I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to do it.
Because I'm smart.
Yes, and because I can.
And
because I trust myself. So say yes to hard things. Say yes to assignments that maybe you feel like are not aligned with your passions. But sometimes it's in those assignments and in those life situations that you learn the most about who you are. And you learn tools that you didn't have. As I think about always I want to be a well-rounded leader. Well, a well-rounded leader is not just a good marketer. There's so many other pieces that go into being a well-rounded leader that you need, and it comes through differential experiences.
I love this.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to our last two questions. The first one is, what advice would you give your 30-year-old self?
I will say, earlier in my days, I remember I used to keep quiet a lot because I didn't know if my idea or my question was was going to be relevant. I always think about how is what I'm going to say going to advance the conversation? How is it going to add value? And at first, when I was younger in my career, I always felt like, that's not a comment that I should make. It's probably not a smart comment. And that's when self-doubt came in. What I would tell myself is say what you have in your mind. Because you know what happened to me? 98% of the times, I had a thought, I had a question, and I never said it. And then another person said it, and they'll be like, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked it, because now we have something else to look. And I'm like, that was my question. It happened every day. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm smart. I'm thinking of those questions, and those questions are helping advance this conversation and getting us to a solution. Why didn't I ask it? I had that in my head since we started this conversation. So I would tell myself, if you have a thought, just put it out. Put it out.
Dare to share.
Great.
Dare to share. I love that. Yes.
And the last one is, who else should we have in this podcast? Do you know any other Latina that could be a good
Yes,
guest?
I have a lot of amazing Latinas that are part of my network, but I think one that I recommend is Maria Jaramillo. Is an amazing human, very great human, and also an amazing leader. She used to work at General Mills for a long time, and now she just transitioned to a different company. She's at Ecolab now. She might be an interesting person. She's got a beautiful story, and it's just a really well-rounded human being that you might benefit from talking to.
Yeah, we hadn't heard from her, so.
Amazing. Well, I have to say, this was incredible. Thank you, Glory.
So many pieces of advice and so many actionable tips that our audience will take from today. Thank you for your generosity.
I love that. It has been a pleasure being here today with both of you. I've learned a lot as well, and I hope my message reaches people and impacts others' lives as well.
And help us lead and succeed.
A la Latina!